Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Majors Live, episode 330 here on TMSNX Radio, themajors.net. I am Adam Hernandez. We're back again. Dorf is with me. Dorf, how you doing tonight, man?
Not bad, man. Catching me in the middle of chewing a piece of ice, but other than that, we're all right.
hey, be careful chewing that ice. You can don't want to break any teeth or anything like that.
Been doing it forever. Haven't done it yet, so
Good.
I'm going to keep my streak going tonight.
But welcome back, everybody. We've got a nice show lined up. After, taking, I think it was like July. July was the last time
Summer
we
break.
do this. Yep, summer break. But things are picking back up again, and we've got some good stuff to get to tonight. We've got the NHL starting tonight. We've got that NCAA stuff to get to as well, which is very, very interesting to see what passed in California this past week and a half. And then we have some baseball postseason stuff to get to as well. After last night, we saw the Washington Nationals in dramatic fashion beat the Milwaukee Brewers.
I can't even call that dramatic. It was a defensive flub.
I know, it was dramatic, though. Somewhat.
But
they end up kind of getting over that hump that is those big games that seem to stymie the Washington Nationals year in and year out. Well, when they do make the playoffs. Anyways. Though. Dorf, we have some NHL questions to get to. The big questions surrounding the NHL regular season, which does start tonight. Dorf, you're gonna be the one that's asked me the question.
I'm playing point guard here.
Yes, you're playing point guard. So why don't you go ahead and feed me some questions right now?
Hey, I'm gonna be the offensive defenseman here and distribute that puck coming out of the defensive zone. Hey, hockey reference. It works.
Nice one.
Hey. as our resident hockey guy here, Adam. So I'm gonna let's just get right into it here. Biggest questions for the 2019-2020 NHL season. Adam,
yes.
Can the Maple Leafs make any kind of meaningful cup run, or is this going to be the continuation of the long-standing Toronto tradition of being so close yet so far away?
God, the Toronto Maple Leafs haven't won a Stanley Cup since, I believe,
my lifetime.
In both of our lifetimes, they haven't won a Stanley Cup, I believe, since 1968.
God, damn.
Yeah, it's been quite a while.
Like the Boomers were babies, man.
Yeah, and the thing about the Maple Leafs this year, which I am not totally sold on. Actually, I'm not sold on the Maple Leafs at all. Do they have talent on that team? Hell yeah, they do. Do they have the coaching to get it done? Yes, Mike Babcock. I've always liked Mike Babcock. I think he's a phenomenal coach. But there are one too many question marks when it comes to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Right now they have
they have the top end roster talent. Do they have like the depth, the organizational depth?
They have no depth, Dorf, in my humble opinion, because they have most of their money wrapped up in three players: Austin Matthews, John Tavares, and Mitch Marner.
You got to remember that same sort of strategy has worked for Pittsburgh. All the money being tied up in really four guys, whoever's the goalie that year. Malkin, Crosby, and Letang. So it's not that it doesn't work; it just doesn't usually work.
Yeah, but the thing with Pittsburgh though is they had good role players, they had good secondary players. When you look at the bottom six for Toronto, they don't really have that much. And the thing is too is their general manager, Kyle Dubas, he went and he spent a bunch of money on Mitch Marner, who basically capitalized on one good season. Now, good for him, but
it's not like he wasn't a top end of a first round pick in a form, not in a former life, but several years ago. It's not like he wasn't a highly touted prospect.
I know, but the thing is too is if you're Kyle Dubas, you're putting all of your eggs into three guys here. Because I'm not convinced that Frederik Andersen too is a is a goaltender that's
He's
going
a
to
little
be
bit
able to.
older too. So
I'm not convinced that he's going to be a guy that's going to be able to, get them over that hump in the postseason. Now, can they maybe beat Boston after Boston has been able to oust them for the playoffs? It seems like almost every single year. Maybe, maybe they could finally, bury that demon, but I just don't see this Maple Leafs team being comprised of a roster is that is able to have a deep postseason run. I don't see it. I think teams that have deep postseason runs are teams with plenty of depth. And I'm not talking, a lot, one or two lines. I'm talking about your bottom six forwards being able to contribute for you as well. And I don't see the Maple Leafs doing that.
And it's not just contribute against bad teams. It's really also involves contributing against the upper echelon of the NHL. And that's kind of what separates the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it all comes down to it, I think that this one and done mentality that Dubas has kind of, orchestrated for himself, it's just not going to get done. And I think there's probably going to be some pretty substantial changes in Toronto this offseason, mainly when it comes to coaching. I think this is probably going to be Mike Babcock's last season.
They own so much money
I know,
though.
but that's what Toronto does, though. Toronto can do it because they are Toronto, and
Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment.
They print money, and two, it's a cutthroat city there. I mean,
I don't know why they haven't won anything in 60 years.
I know. Hey, you're preaching to the choir here. I hear all of that. So ultimately, no, it's not going to get done for Toronto this year. Too many question marks when it comes to their goaltending, when it comes to their bottom six forwards. It's just not going to get done. Too much drama, too. Everything that happened with Austin Matthews this offseason, not reporting that not the domestic assault, but that disorderly conduct that happened in Arizona, that kind of flew under the radar and kind of popped up on the Maple Leafs last minute. So they're having to deal with the fallout from something like that. It's just too much drama surrounding that team, too much shit to contend with, too many question marks. So no, it's going to be entertaining for Toronto this season, but it's going to be entertaining for everybody.
Doesn't necessarily mean winning hockey.
No, absolutely not. So,
all right, next question. Can the Hurricanes prove to not be a one-hit wonder? They were returned to essentially the Stanley Cup final for the first time, if my memory serves me correctly, in over 15 years.
No, I don't think it was over 15 years. They went in
It was the early 2000s, wasn't it?
I thought it was like the mid 2000s. Because when did they go? Because they won. I believe it was Yzerman's last year in Detroit. Was that 2004 or 2005 or something like that? Because they ended up.
I am pulling it up.
I believe they beat Edmonton in the Stanley Cup Finals, and that's when they kind of rode the hot hand of Cam Ward all the way to the finals.
Last time that would have been the 2005-06 season.
Okay.
They won the Stanley Cup Finals. Other than that, they made the conference finals in 08 and 09.
Well, the Red Wings beat them in 2002 also in the finals. So
correct.
As far as Carolina goes this year, I really like this. I really like this Carolina Hurricanes team. They have arguably the best defense in all of the NHL. They got Jake Gardner for an absolute steal, like $4.05 million, which is a bargain for his talent. The biggest question for Carolina is going to be their goaltending. You have Peter Mrazek, who's going to get really his first shot as a starting goaltender for the Hurricanes this year, really without having to look over his shoulder, at anybody else. So big question marks surrounding that. Bottom line, I don't think they're a fluke. I think when it comes to their defense is no joke. I think the defense is going to be able to hide a lot of the blemishes that they have when it comes to anything that may happen in the net. So I think the Hurricanes are for real. I think they have a real shot at taking the Metropolitan Division as well, especially with all the comings and goings that has happened that has happened with that division this offseason. So I like the Hurricanes. I like what they've done with their defense. Like I said, arguably the best defense in all of the NHL. They got some good bargain signings this offseason, and I think they're ready to roll. I think that they definitely could come out on top in the Metro and have a decent run in the postseason as well.
Okay. What about the Blues? It's first time in a long time for them being essentially relevant as a cup contender as well. Are they prized to get back to the promised land as well?
Well, they won the cup last year, so
I know. Yeah, that's what I mean by that.
Yeah,
I know they won last year, but
luckily for the Blues, they're not going to have to rely on any insane second half magic because the Blues are going to be good all year. I think Jordan Binnington is going to be in the running for the Vezina Trophy when the season's all said and done. I mean, they're arguably the most balanced team in the NHL, top to bottom, offense, defense. They have it all.
a lot of really good value in gold in that too. Good value for the amount of dollars.
Oh,
spent.
absolutely. Jordan Binnington just he came out of nowhere last year. I mean, I think he started his first game.
He cost nothing.
Yeah, he cost nothing. He started his first game, I believe, in January for St. Louis, and he really hasn't looked back since. He's looked good this preseason. St. Louis is up against the cap, so there really isn't any room to work with there. However, the good thing though is St. Louis didn't really do anything in the offseason, which is good when you don't have a cap to work with. They're essentially returning the same team that won them the Stanley Cup last season. So yeah, they're definitely going to be there. They're going to be in the running to repeat as Stanley Cup champions once again.
Okay.
All right.
The Sharks, San Jose. Seems like they are so close yet so far away. What about them? Do they have a viable road to the Stanley Cup Finals?
I think, San Jose is still, I think a lot of people are always wondering when that window on San Jose is going to finally close, because it seems like San Jose every single year for the past decade or so, they've been right there as one of those teams that have been mentioned as far as being those Stanley Cup contender teams.
I know this is a terrible comparison, but are they like the mid 2000s going to work Pistons? I know that they got it done once, but they how many consecutive conference finals did they go to without getting the job done?
I don't think it's a bad comparison. The problem with some of those going to work Pistons teams, especially at the tail end, was a lack of organizational depth that they had. That's not something that limits the Sharks by any means. They did lose their captain from last season, Joe Pavelski, to the Dallas Stars, which sucks. However, they still have guys like Logan Couture, Timo Meier, Evander Kane, Thomas Hertl up front, and then they have Brett Burns, who led all D-men in points last season. They re-signed Erik Karlsson to a big extension. They have Vlasic, and Karlsson too is going to be in the running for the Norris Trophy.
Well,
so,
that's if he can stay healthy.
I think he's going to be able to stay healthy. I don't think they would have given him the money if they weren't confident that he was going to be able to return some nice numbers for them. So I think they have it. Like the Hurricanes, though, in the Eastern Conference, there's some big question marks when it comes to what San Jose is going to be able to do in net. They're going to be running out there with Martin Jones and Aaron Dell, who was a relative no-namer. And they're also coming off a season which San Jose finished second in the Pacific with the worst team save percentage in the NHL. So there are some real concerns when it comes to their goaltending. However, as long as they don't have to mortgage any of their depth on goaltending help anytime throughout the season, I think they're going to be in good shape. So I'm going to say yes, San Jose is going to be there again for another year to compete for a Stanley Cup this year.
Okay. All right. So these next two questions here. Your projected biggest disappointment on this year. I believe you have the New York Rangers as your team you selected here. Why is that?
Well, they made a lot of moves this offseason. They got a nice high draft pick. They signed Panarinian to a deal. However, I think New York is still a very young team, and it seems like they're trying to accelerate that rebuild a little too quick. And it seems like they're trying to coincide it too with
What, a New
the
York team being impatient?
yeah.
Whoa, color me shocked.
Like I said, I think they're trying to accelerate it too with the waning years they have left of Henrik Lundqvist before they have to go and address that. The thing is, though, is the Henrik Lundqvist thing has probably already passed them. Henrik Lundqvist probably isn't a top 15 goaltender in the NHL anymore. He's old. He's beat up. Is he, could he still go in and win some, possible big games for them? Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
possible, but you still need the your guys up front and your guys on the blue line for you to get you there. And it just for the New York Rangers, it always seems like you have to prove it to me first in order for for me to be a believer in them, because every single year, the Rangers are always one of those teams that are making big moves in the offseason, signing this guy, signing that guy, making these big trades, and just nothing ever comes to fruition with them. Not since 1994 when they were able to win the Stanley Cup with that Mark Messier team. I don't see it happening this year, despite the hype, and it's going to be another disappointing season for the boys in blue. So.
Okay, so next on your list here, biggest surprise. I don't necessarily think you consider them surprising, but why do you think the Carolina Hurricanes will be the biggest surprise this year?
I think because people see the Atlantic Division and they see teams like I'm sorry, not the Atlantic, but the Metropolitan Division. They see teams like the Penguins. They see teams like the Washington Capitals, and they see the Carolina Hurricanes, who many are still questioning as being a fluke. And I'm not just really going.
Goaltending. I mean, if you can't keep the puck out, the basic stuff out of the net, like Peter Mrazek has shown over the course of his career, to potentially be able to give up a plethora of soft goals. The rest of it really doesn't matter, does it?
No, it doesn't. But the thing is their defense is so good. And I think their defense will be able to, mirror some of that. And Peter Mrazek isn't a bad goalie by any means. Is he mediocre? Yeah. I mean, does he have glimpses too of being a really good goaltender in the league? Yeah, he's shown that before in his career. I just think that defense is going to be able to shade and mask some of those deficiencies that they do have in net. And they're going to be able to capitalize off of that. I just think when you look at the rest of this division, there's been so much moving. There's been so much shaking in the Metro Division. I mean, Pittsburgh isn't as strong as they used to be. You have a team like the Washington Capitals as well, who, this could
they're
be
only 2 years removed from their own title.
I know, but they're another team that seems like they may be on their right way out as well. The New York Rangers, like I just said, I think they're going to be the biggest disappointment. So there's a lot of room in there for the Carolina Hurricanes to really take advantage. So,
okay. Next, your bottom three teams. You've got Ottawa, Los Angeles, and Detroit listed there. Why do you think those teams will finish in the bottom of the NHL this season?
Again, it's just all they're all very, very young teams. They're all teams that are right in the middle of a rebuild right now. And I mean, ironically enough, all three of those teams have older goaltenders too in net for them. Whether it's Jimmy Howard in Detroit, Jonathan Quick in Los Angeles,
Brett Jones.
Yeah, so it's going to be another tough year. I mean, there's going to be some certain things to get excited about. If you're Ottawa, you're probably going to be, in line for the first pick at the end of the season. If you're Detroit, you've got a lot of nice, good young forwards starting to make their way up. So, but still, it's going to be another tough season for those three teams as far as, wins and losses go. So,
and don't worry, they have a company coming at the bottom. Doesn't Seattle start next year?
Seattle starts, I believe, in 2020, 2021. So, yeah. Yeah, unless they pull a Vegas and shock everyone, but...
Good luck with that. All right, so your top three teams projected this year. That would be number 1, Tampa Bay, 2, St. Louis, 3, San Jose. Why is that?
I just think when you look up and down those teams, I mean, you have just totally stacked teams with plenty of depth when it comes to their first and third, fourth lines. San Jose, like I said, they have guys on the blue line. They have guys on the up front. They're going to be able to contribute. Same thing with St. Louis, who are, like I said before, really returning the same team that won them the Stanley Cup, and then Tampa Bay too. I think
they've been loaded for a while.
They've been loaded for a while, and I think a lot of lessons can be learned after the disaster that happened last year in the playoffs when they were swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets after tying the I believe it was the 95 Red Wings mark for wins with 62. So yeah, I mean, I as a Red Wings fan myself, I know exactly where Tampa Bay is coming from, and kind of the shit that you have to go through before you're able to win the Stanley Cup once again. You've got to deal with those heartbreak situations and those losing to lesser teams and yada 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 yada. So yeah, like I said.
All right, very quickly, let's wrap this up here. Your Stanley Cup winner this year. Who takes it home? Who ultimately goes home as first loser?
Tampa Bay beats San Jose.
Okay. And I'm not going to ask you a number of games because there's a lot of hockey to be played between now and then. Like you said, season opener, I believe it's tonight. Is tonight.
Yep.
So, all right. Anything else before we move on?
No, let's go ahead and get to that NCAA thing that's been happening out in California, though, which is Dorf. I mean, when you look at the NCAA, and I know we were kind of talking about this before we got started tonight, and I mean, I label what the NCAA has been able to get away with as first world slavery. I don't want to label it as slavery because I don't want to,
I was going to tell you to tone down the rhetoric, but okay.
First world slavery in the United States. Hey, the NCAA has gotten away with a lot. They've gotten away with. I think it's been criminal, borderline criminal, what they've been able to get away with as far as limiting what these players can do, as far as making earning a paycheck.
There's still a limit on how much these guys can earn, like working summer jobs.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
And it's like the number hasn't been adjusted since like the 70s.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Is these guys, they can't go and leave making money off of their likeness out of here. As far as jersey sales and shit like that. These guys can't even go.
Just be able to take money for an autograph.
Yeah, not even that. These guys can't even go and work at a golf course in the off season and make money because of NCAA regulations.
They can work at a golf course for money. It's just they're limited. I forget what the exact number is, but if memory serves me correctly, it's like $2,500 a year.
Okay, which is nothing.
Which you make that in a golf course. I mean, you'll make that faster than your summer will be gone. So
yeah. But Dorf, how do you want to direct this? Because I think the NCAA has been extremely.
Well, introduce
shady.
the bill. Give a little bit of the specifics.
Okay. Well, California introduced a bill which was recently signed by Governor Gavin Newsom. Which basically says it's going to open the door for NCAA players in that state to make money off of their likeness. And Dorf, you said it's going to come into play here.
It doesn't go into effect until 2023.
Yep, 2023. But that's the long and short of it right there. Is it's a huge step in college players making money at that level. And I know that it's going to, something like this is going to bring into question, the heart of amateur sports. Are they even amateurs anymore? Blah, 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 blah. Which, if you ask me, it hasn't been an amateur sport in quite a while.
Absolutely correct there in my estimation of things. What this will do, it will force the NCAA to act in a specific timeline. There is no way in hell the state of California, which has 70,000, it seems like, Division I schools and colleges in general, because there's a billion people there, it seems like, will ever be able to blanketly ban all those schools from competition. Or hell, you could see them be like, we're going to make our own NCAA with blackjack and hookers, quoting, Futurama there. But you can see that, this is the California Collegiate Athletic League, and, they break off. You could see that too.
Yeah.
I think that's way far, that would be the nuclear option. We're so far away from that being, even on the table. However, I think this is a great first step.
Mm-hmm.
In, why shouldn't I be able to go post pictures with somebody and make a few bucks? Why shouldn't I be able to go sign autographs and make a few bucks? It's my picture and my signature.
My picture and my signature, yeah.
My picture and my signature. Now, if you want to put some sort of rule in effect that somehow attempts to legislate that sort of influence out of the recruiting process or something like that can't be part of your recruiting pitch, or, hey, we're going to hook you up with this autograph dealer and you're going to sit in a room and sign 50 autographs in a day and here's a trunk full of money. Mm-hmm. Fine. If there needs to be an open ledger kept of player X went and earned $75 posting for pictures today, and that can be publicly available, fine. If you want to put a cap on it, fine. But the fact that humans cannot make money. I mean, they're already not making, a full ride scholarship is not nothing as far as compensation goes. But at the same time, you got to remember, outside of essentially men's and women's basketball and football, most of these athletes are not on full rides.
Well, that brings up another question too, Dorf. When it comes to scholarships in general, should all scholarships be full rides?
Quite honestly, before we, if we want to get into the conversation, before we start paying players, the university compensates in cash players for being players. Mm-hmm. Let's start there first. Let's get everybody a full, I don't know that the scholarship cap in football, which is 85, needs to be raised at all. But for a baseball team where you'll have 35, 40 guys play in a given year, mm-hmm. there's 11 scholarships to go between them.
Oh, that's it?
11.
Wow.
Basketball is 13. Men's and women's basketball is 13. So pretty much everybody who will play in a given year will be on scholarship in basketball. Mm-hmm. I mean, you'll get a walk-on here and a walk-on there, but you're not but you look at track and field. It's a big deal to get a quarter ride. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like tennis, it's a big deal to get a half ride. That's crazy.
Yeah,
no,
it is.
Make everybody who's recruited specifically. I'm not necessarily advocating changing the walk-on structure, but if you're here on scholarship, make it a full ride, please.
Look, I couldn't agree with you more, Dorf. I mean, I think that, and that's just, and I don't know if that's, I mean, obviously that's not just an NCAA thing there too. I mean, that's
hell. I mean, I know there's no way in hell that the NCAA, especially the football organization, has this kind of leverage. Hey, NFL, you're using this as your de facto minor league. So give me some money, bitch. If we're going to continue to fund this, how about you pay the players? How about you start a player compensation fund? If you're going to use this as your minor leagues for free, give me that money.
You know what, too? Well, that's another question that I wanted to bring into this discussion here, Dorf. When it comes to the NCAA, do you think that their presence and their big monopoly on amateur sports in this country, amateur collegiate sports in this country, do you think that has any adverse effect on minor league sports when it comes to say the NFL or the NBA, which the NBA has a minor league system, so to speak.
And it started accepting people straight out of high school for it too.
Yes.
You can go to the G League right now, right out of high school.
But it still pales in comparison to like the to what we have in Major League Baseball or the NHL. Hell, even soccer in this country too. I think you could say the NCAA has an Elverse effect on how soccer is structured.
Soccer, the future of amateur soccer here is going to be changing rapidly, especially as the European-style academy system develops throughout the country. You're starting to see the MLS teams have minor league academies and that sort of level, youth academies is what they call them, similar to now their European counterparts, and they're actually being taken seriously and funded seriously now.
Which we're gonna. I'm actually, you know what? We're gonna touch on this next week, Dorf. So,
are we? Okay.
Yeah, on the on that topic. So
okay, well, I'll leave it at that then.
Yeah.
That I think will have a huge market upsetting effect. The NCAA, I hate to say it is this, but it is too big to fail.
Okay.
There's too many moneyed interests both in television, media, and the university systems itself. They like their golden goose here. They ain't gonna let you steal it. Even if that means taking a little bit less to keep the gravy chain flowing, because they have to pay some player. They have to pay the players. The only thing is, if you're paying one, everybody's got to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
You got to pay everybody down to the bench warmer on the women's crew team. You're going to have to do it.
Dorvey, I mean, you say they're too big to fail, and that's not a notion or some insane idea that people are going to scoff at and be like, oh my God, Dorf's out of his mind. The NCAA is huge. The NCAA is arguably
just look at the numbers thrown around for this here. So, the president of the Big Ten Conference got a $20 million bonus, which is insane on its own right.
Mm-hmm.
For negotiating a $5 billion TV deal between Fox and the Big Ten Network.
Yeah.
You got $20 million of that.
Mm-hmm.
If there's that level of money, I'm sorry, you can't cry poor.
What about this, Dorf? Because what this California thing is doing right now...
And that's just the Big Ten, by the way.
What this California thing right now is doing is it's enticing other states to do the same thing. I believe they were mentioning Florida as a second state that's
California is always a progressive social change leader. There's in some more divisive political issues, there's a lot of kickback, especially in the central part of the country,
mm-hmm.
That fights it and doesn't adopt it or comes along kicking and screaming. I think this is a bipartisan thing that everybody can get behind.
Sure.
And I think everybody won't be far behind.
As far as other states go, like I said, this is enticing a state like Florida that's also looking into it, and I'm sure you're going to see it snowball as well. Now, if the NCAA tries to push back too much, don't you think that some of these bigger conferences could kind of come to the rescue for some of their member teams?
I'm on record here in our network of podcasts here saying that I think the only way it can work where everybody gets paid by everybody is there has to be some sort of all university revenue sharing agreement.
Uh-huh.
Because you still got to remember, only like 10 athletic departments make money.
Yeah.
And you can't hand out money if you're not making money.
Do you think this could possibly lead to the dissolvement of certain programs around the country?
It could. I think it will. You'll see some smaller state universities like in the Dakotas.
Uh-huh.
I know they mostly don't play Division I. They're 1AA or Division II. But guys, we can't afford this. We're out. Here's a perfect example. The University of Hawaii. I bet you they would be done with Division I athletics if this goes through.
Yeah. Well, it's a possibility.
They're broke. Their stadion's falling apart. They're broke.
But they still play. They still play at the
Mountain West, man. They're the Mountain West.
Yeah, what are they playing? They still playing? What is that? The Aloha
Stadium.
Aloha Stadium or something like that.
Yeah, they built a steel stadium surrounded by salt water. That's fucking brilliant.
It's just rusting as
Yeah, falling apart. It's crumbling.
Well, the NCAA has already come out and said that changes are needed. But what kind of changes?
I'm sorry, empty words. That's like a politician saying to you in a town hall meeting, "Oh, that's something we need to talk about. And something we need to consider."
Yeah.
It's empty words. No, that's just me, being very politely telling you to go fuck yourself.
You know what, Dorf? I think that there is some real traction here, and yes, I can believe to some extent the NCAA is too big to fail. What I get out of that, though,
It
and I
doesn't
guess
mean it will exist into the future in its current, in its
no,
current.
no, absolutely not. And I think this is probably maybe where we're on the same page with all of this, and in our opinions, and how the NCAA is going to continue to do business going forward. You get enough states. You get enough people, you get enough, high-powered conferences willing to
Well,
back up.
you get enough states that do it. Unfortunately, you have to abide by the law. The powers that be, whether it
Yeah.
be in media or the NCAA and the institutions, are going to have to find a way to make it work.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the NCAA is like you said, they're just going to have to find a solution to all of this, even if they don't like it, and they're not going to like it. They're not going to be making as much money. Amateur sport.
Sorry, Alabama. That means you may not be able to pay Nick Saban $10 million next year.
Yeah.
Or LSU spend $30 million on a spaceship. I mean, football facility.
But anyways, it's gonna be fun to see how this continues to shape out, and what happens with some of these other states. And quite frankly, I want to see some of these big. I want to see like the commissioner of the Big Ten. I want to see the commissioner of the SEC. I want to see them start to come out, especially the commissioner of the Pac-12. I want to see them come out and start giving their opinions on, especially if the NCAA starts giving any brushback to any of this as well. I want to see if they're going to be able to go to bat for a team like Stanford or a team like UCLA or USC. If all of a sudden the NCAA starts making all of these these crazy threats towards them, like, oh well, if USC starts paying their players, they're
going to be hereby banned from competition.
Yeah, they can't play. They can't play football this year. They can't play basketball this year. So I would love to see what the Pac-12 commissioner is going to have to say about something like that. And if this is going to work, it's going to take a bunch of different entities within this country, whether it's conferences, whether it's states, whether it's politicians, athletic directors, getting behind this, which I think they will, because who knows how the pros are going to be able to who knows what's going to happen with the NFL or the NBA going
this
forward.
Might be the death of the Division I college football model too. I mean, this may be force the NFL to set up a legit minor league program.
Yeah, which I'm all for. I would love to see a legit minor league program in the NFL. Something that we haven't seen since
really ever.
Really ever, yeah. I mean, the closest thing that we ever had to it with the NFL was probably NFL Europe. That was probably it. And you had a handful of teams there and nothing really substantial. I mean, it really wasn't serious. I mean, you had some guys making the transition back and forth, but
Hey, most famous alumni out of NFL Europe, Adam Vinatieri.
Oh, really? Was it?
Yeah, he kicked for the Amsterdam Admirals for a year, if I remember correctly.
God damn, that just goes to show how old he is, too.
I mean, he could be somebody's grandpa without any funny business. So.
Yeah, man. Did you know Tom Brady still wears the same pads that he did in Michigan?
I did see that today
in
ESPN. Yeah. Doesn't surprise me. He wore the same helmet until like 2 years ago, and they made him change it.
So yeah, they're saying they say like some of his pads are older than some people on his team, some players.
Well, yeah, like their second round pick this year is younger than his pads.
Oh man, Dorf, let's move on. It's time to ask you some questions now as we do a little around the diamond with the MLB Postseason edition. Starting with the Washington Nationals, coming back last night in the late innings to beat the Milwaukee Brewers, thanks to Juan Soto's crazy defensive blunder.
Defensive flub
yeah.
by, I forget his name, right fielder for the
Brewers.
Rookie right fielder for the Brewers. Filling in for the injured Christian Yelich, by the way.
Yep.
That makes it hurt even more.
Yep. But anyways, will the Nationals win another game this postseason?
Yes. Steven Strasburg, whenever he would take, I mean, he pitched 3 innings in relief yesterday. I don't know when he or Scherzer will start next, but Strasburg has been so damn good this year. Whatever he pitches, I think they'll win that game. Outside of that, Max Scherzer didn't look all that great this last start. I think the Dodgers can get to him. I think Strasburg will win a game, but outside of that, I'm not sure.
Okay. Moving along, which team has the best opportunity to take down the Astros in the American League?
Can I answer? Nobody. I mean, I'm quite honest.
Nope.
I do believe the Astros are unbeatable. I think this is the Astros World Series to lose, assuming there's no tragic health issue that pops up. I do believe the Astros will win the World Series, but outside of that, I think the New York Yankees would have the best chance. They will be able to keep up with them in the slugging department, but at the same time, their starting pit rotation has faltered here down the stretch, whether injuries, suspensions, etc. Mm-hmm. I don't know that they'll be able to outpitch the Astros as well.
All right, on the flip, which team in the National League has the best opportunity to take down the Dodgers?
Man. Atlanta, probably. Hesitantly, Atlanta has the young pitching that misses bats, which wins games in the postseason. But at the same time, they collectively have pretty much absolutely no experience. In the postseason, the Dodgers are coming off back-to-back deep postseason runs. Pretty much it's all the same crew again together. Atlanta's my best bet. I don't see St. Louis or that being Washington challenging them either, whoever comes out of that. Washington series, the St. Louis and Atlanta series. I don't see them really challenging the Dodgers, but at the same time, if I had to pick one, I think it's going to be Atlanta.
All right. Kind of a repeat question, but between the Nationals, Rays, Athletic, Twins, and Cardinals. So no number ones, no number twos in there.
Okay.
Which team has the best shot to win the World Series?
I'm going to go Rays.
Rays?
Assuming they make it out of tonight. They are currently an hour into their game, roughly an hour into their game as we're on the air here right now. I have no idea how it's going on. I haven't looked. With that being said, I think the Rays and their ability to piece things together and play platoons in 17,000 different ways and never have a bad matchup between batter and hitter, I think that in a microcosm will help them, be able to hang with anybody. If I can't pick a favorite, I think I'm gonna go Rays.
You want to know the score?
Sure, go ahead.
It is 4-1. Tampa Bay, bottom of the third.
Yeah.
So.
Prediction looks awful good.
All right. Yeah. Well, we predicted that the Brewers were going to beat the Nationals last night, and it was looking pretty good up until the 7th, 8th inning. So, all right, Dorf, home stretch here tonight. Bitches and badasses. Do you have a badass you want to throw out there?
I do. My badass. This is actually going to be. I'm going to go with Steven Strasburg.
Okay.
Dominant relief performance, essentially kept a game that was essentially out of reach at that point with how Brandon Woodruff was pitching, kept them in the game just long enough for the right fielder Clint Gresham to kick it and kept him in the game. So with that in mind, I'm going to make, just from yesterday, Steven Strasburg my badass today.
All right, for me, I'm going to go with Juan Soto after what it
clutch RBI single there, bro, that cleared bases.
Yep, clutch RBI single, sending the Washington Nationals to the divisional series against the Los Angeles Dodgers. So good on his part. Good for the Nationals, who were able to finally win that big game, and they move on, too. Very, very important for the Nationals this season. We talked about it last night, where they have another season on the line.
They could lose their two. I mean, they lost their best player last year in Bryce Harper. They could lose their two best guys this offseason. Rendon's up for sure. Strasburg can opt out.
Yep.
That is it's Trey Turner against Juan Soto's no slouch. Don't get me wrong, but then it's Juan Soto and Trey Turner against the world, and yikes.
Okay, you lose Rendon, and if you lose Strasburg this offseason,
that's a 75-win team without those two.
Do you try to trade Max Scherzer?
I think you do.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing: the way his contract is structured, half of the compensation is deferred till after the contract is over. Mm-hmm. So he hasn't really made any money yet. So unless, of course, the Nationals are really willing to eat all that deferred compensation, I don't know that he's movable.
Yeah.
Even if you want it, and he's got 10-5 rights at this point, so he can say fuck you to any trade offer.
All right. Bitches. Go ahead, Dorf.
My bitch is going to be Vontaze Burfict of
Good
the
one. Good one.
Oakland Raiders here, suspended for the remainder of the year for being an ass clown. The fact that he wasn't banned, but even before he had the opportunity to try and end Jack Dole's life there, is a crying shame. The dude this is the 13th time he's been suspended for on-field conduct.
Yeah.
13th. This isn't like the Lawrence Taylor days. People get, Anyway, it's just.
I'm with you, Dorf. I don't understand.
People get lifetime bans for less.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand when it comes to these sports, whether you're talking hockey or football, where it just seems like there's a total lack of respect when it comes to other players.
It's not even like a whole. It's like a few bad apples now. It used to be everybody.
Yeah.
Now it's just a few bad apples, and the NFL's almost got rid of all of them. Vontaze Burfict is one of the last ones. DJ Swearinger's like that too. He's still around.
He's got cut though.
Did he get cut?
He got cut by
recently?
the Cardinals.
Really? Recently?
Yeah.
Okay, I missed that. Anyway, yeah, I mean, the NFL's almost got that taken care of. The NHL, for a large portion, has got it taken care of.
Yeah, they have.
And they consider the better long-term future of their league, both leagues, that this kind of shit doesn't happen. And, the fact that Vontaze Burfict, by the way, signed by the Raiders this offseason, made a fucking captain, by the way.
That's the Raiders, though.
Yeah, I mean, lol, Raiders. I mean, that's such a microcosm of I'm Juggernaut, I have tough guys.
I don't know. I just don't understand. I don't understand the mindset of these guys that undertake this type of play. Knowing that you can, seriously injure or kill some of these other guys by doing something like that. Not to mention, you could injure or kill yourself leading with your head like that. I mean, let's be completely honest here. They're in plenty of danger themselves when it comes to a hit like that. Leading with your head, it's stupid. I'm glad the NFL, dropped the hammer on him, and good reason too. Good reason. You got to cut this shit out of the game. Football is obviously it's a rough sport. It's a full contact sport, and I'm not, saying that needs to be taken out of it, but you definitely need to get that shit out of the game. So, I'm also going to stick with the NFL, but I'm going to bitch the NFL in general, Dorf, and it may be a little sour grapes on my part after what happened this past weekend between the Chiefs and the Lions. And it's that pass interference penalty, should have been penalty at the end of the game that the NFL decided to not take a look at for whatever reason. And I'm sure the conspiracy theories are going to start running rampant.
Have you heard Pat McAfee's take on it?
No, I haven't.
He literally went on now that he has a nationally syndicated radio show, he went on like a full segment rant about calling out, I forget the guy's name, the NFL head of officials, saying that this is, yes, the NFL owners have decided to make that reviewable, but he doesn't want to embarrass his guys. Anytime like a review goes back to New York or whatever, which pass interference and challenges are all done through New York, he's just going to be, he doesn't want to embarrass the guys on the field, so there's no way in hell any pass interference call ever will get overturned. And that's Pat's theory on it.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, it's something that we've that I know you've mentioned before in Major League Baseball when it comes to.
They've kind of gotten over that in Major League Baseball. I think for the large part they get it right. They fuck it. Pride be damned. We're gonna get this right because we'll get more shit for it if we don't than if covering up for the pride or the ego of a individual umpire than. If we just get it right.
So is this something that just needs to evolve then in the NFL?
No, it shouldn't. They should have learned their lesson from the MLB. Just fucking get it right.
No, I agree. Just asking questions though. Yeah, I just and how long has NFL officiating been, under the microscope and been questioned and just scrutinized for good reason too. I mean, it was. I mean, when you look at the play itself, the dead giveaway on something like that too, without him putting his hands to his face and grabbing his face mask, was the guy didn't even turn around. The guy didn't even turn around and try to make a play on the ball. And 9 times out of 10, when something like that happens, the referee is going to throw the flag every single time. 9 times out of 10, and it didn't happen this time. Why? Maybe it's Pat McAfee's, theory. Maybe the NFL just wanted to preserve the Chiefs', undefeated record thus far. They didn't want to see them go on the road and lose to the Lions. Because they already suffered, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going cross country and beating the Los Angeles Rams.
Not just beating them,
yeah,
like thoroughly kicking their ass.
I think there's some problem. I think there's some things to be concerned about with the Rams.
You know what it is? Shit guard play. You can summarize the Rams' offensive struggles this year as shit guard play. They had dominant guard play last year. They lost Roger Saffold in free agency, their left guard. Their right guard, Austin Blythe, is hurt. They've got 2 guys that were depth pieces last year playing, and a new center, that being Brian Allen. Those guys are getting pushed around up front. Jared Goff, when he didn't have pressure in his face, was downright deadly last year. Now he's, in the top 5 and most pressured quarterbacks this year. And all of a sudden, they look incredibly average, and you wonder why.
What did you make mention to last year as far as that LA roster not?
Oh God, they had so much talent that hadn't gotten paid yet too, and they finally had to pay people and let a couple guys go. And
yeah. So, I mean, and then they have the Todd Gurley thing, and this guys not being as young as they used to be, if that makes any sense.
I ain't as good as I once was.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't think that the Rams definitely look very, very beatable now, especially going forward after losing to the Buccaneers. But
hey, Buccaneers look good, man.
They did look
really
good.
Do.
They did look good.
Crazy Bruce Arians has got the most out of famous Jameis.
Yep. Bruce Arians is a good coach too. Good head coach.
He's this generation's Mike Martz. Fuck it. You don't need more than 5 blockers. I don't care if you live every game on the stretcher, my quarterback. We're gonna go deep every play.
Hey, Mike Martz was the architect of the greatest show on turf, and
yes, he was.
Won himself a Super Bowl. So, anyways, Dorf. Anything else as we close things out?
I don't think so, sir.
All right. Well, that's going to do it then for the 330th installment of.
That's a damn.
Of the Majors.
I think this is your and I Majors Live. This I think is our 80th because I took over with you and Sean at 250, if I remember correctly, right?
Yes.
And I don't think I missed an episode, so I think this is our 80th doing this show together on top of everything else we've done together. So I want to sit down one day and figure out how many podcasts we've done, you and I have done together, and kind of come up with a number because it's probably rapidly approaching 500.
I think I would feel pretty bad about myself. Like, man, what am I doing?
How much time have you wasted in your life?
What am I doing with myself? Yeah, we can do that. I just gotta have my depression pills handy there, though. I get double up on my dosage after we come up with that number. Anyways, though, Dorf, like I said, that's gonna do it for tonight. We're gonna be back again next week, though. We do have that MLS topic to get to, which I think is pretty interesting. I was gonna bring it in tonight, but I wanted to get to the hockey stuff since the season's starting tonight. But we are going to get to that to some of that MLS stuff. I've seen some interesting articles online too regarding the MLS as a whole, and just kind of how it's kind of turning into quite the shady organization in terms of professional sports in the United States. So we'll get to that next week, and as well as some other stuff.
I am blissfully unaware of that. I'm gonna have to do some reading.
Yeah, do some reading on it, and then we'll get back to it we'll get back to it next week. So for Dorf, I'm Adam. Bye for now, everybody.